revenue from other locations as well. As you can see in this yellow column where it says projected 22, 23. Thank you. 22, 23, we will be starting the year with a cash balance of $10,268,157. Then we have other money coming in for ad valorem taxes collected from property taxes. You can see the biggest chunks there. The large chunk there also is impact aid. That's a line number P or letter P. We anticipate $3.5 million there. All told, $54 million in revenue. Then we balance that out with our expenditures, and that's on the second page of this large document that you have. Payroll and benefits of $29 million. K-5 ELTP that we anticipate $1.1 million. We anticipate also line 11 being able to put $5 million in cash reserves as a very fiduciarily responsible position where we want to make sure that we have money saved up for when the federal funds run out from our CARES and CARISA and ARP funds. We want to make sure that we have enough for district operations, also to have a healthy cash balance. As you remember, when we receive state and federal funds, we don't receive a big check from them. We get the allocation, we spend the money from our operations, and then we have to go get reimbursed. So at any given time, we can have $3 to $5 million out waiting in reimbursements, especially when we start building and doing our large bond projects. So it's very important for us to have a healthy cash balance to carry us through for daily operations. So that's why we want to continue to have enough cash in the bank to have those daily operations. As you can see, the rest of this, I won't go into detail with each one of this unless you ask me. I'm happy to explain what they are. There is a budget narrative document that I provided for you as well. That's the smaller one. It looks like this one here, and it explains what this purpose of the source of revenue is, also what describes what we pay out of the expenses. And the other document I gave you was the 910B5 form. This is the calculation that the state uses to determine how much we're going to get in state deposits. They break those up into monthly deposits. As you can see, we submitted back in the fall, anticipating 3,082 students starting out. I will have to say, though, I anticipate that all the efforts that are going on with the outreach and efforts and what the principals are doing, I conservatively will estimate that we'll probably get another 150 students early next year. So that SEG will increase. When we report our 40-day membership, the PED will recalculate what that SEG should be and then give us an additional boost there. They did that this year as well when the unit value changed. Okay, so based on all of this, they calculate here. Let's go scrolling down to the third page there, and so the unit value is $5,450.92. That is not per student, that is per unit. They take into consideration the, I call it acuity level, the level of students that we have based on whether they're special education, whether they're young, whether they're in high school. They cost different depending on which school they're in. So they give us that, they take that unit value and they multiply it times the units that they gave us, and we came up with $38,856,000. That ties directly to that budget on line N, like Nancy, on the budget for $38 million. Any questions about the 910B5 and what I've explained so far?
Mr. Jones.
Just, and I know we're always working on projected and we anticipate, but when you set the budget in, that's not a projected on what we think our 40 days gonna count is gonna be next year. It's on actual now, correct?
It's on the anticipated 3,082 students.
Okay.
So we're being very conservative with the revenue.
And I know we're projected what we're gonna, have those projections never come to fruition, or they always come to fruition? And so,
In the 3 years that I've been doing this is my fourth budget now, we have always been under, and we receive more money later in the year.
And I understand why we do. I've just a couple questions, and then when you talk about that, well, we anticipate more students next year, well, a lot of things could happen between now. So great answer, Ray,
Exactly,
and I
exactly.
appreciate that.
And I'd like to add that along with being very conservative with our projections, we did challenge all of our schools to get our students back. So we've had a lot of intentional phone calls and visits to homes and connections. And it seems that the general sense is that, okay, we're on this online class that we got into because of COVID and stuff like that. We do plan on coming back face-to-face at the GCCS schools this fall, so that's not, we can't count on that, you know, we're not counting on it to budget, but we do have a strong sense that we're gonna get a few students back from the online classes this fall.
So if they choose to stay online learning, do we have our own program that they can choose?
And that, yeah, so the online classes I'm talking about, like outside of the district, like Connections, and I know there's K-12 and several that are going on outside of the district. With the internal classes, yes, we don't want to push the online option, but we want to save that for special cases, where if a student just absolutely cannot, for whatever reason, be in school in a face-to-face, we do want to have that option for the students.
So what about the cyber academy that we have? How does that fall into place as far as the online?
So we are currently undergoing some changes with that. That's a program that needs to be tightened up. I don't know if you've heard, but the leader of that program has resigned and is no longer there with the program. So it's our opportunity to improve the whole scope of the program, and we'll be working on that in the next few weeks.
So we could possibly get more students into the cyber academy?
Yeah, and I think when we switch the students from face-to-face to online, we're not really gaining anything, you know, but we do like the students to have options, and that's what we want to make sure that we have those options available for the students. So it's not really that we're promoting for the students out of face-to-face into online or vice versa. We just want to make sure we have those options available, tailored for those specific needs.
I have one more document to share with you, and that is the anticipated revenue from non-operational sources. These are state and federal funding sources. So this is the fund number, and then this is the description in the middle. And the first one is pupil transportation, running the buses. We expect 1.1, almost 1.2 million. Food and nutrition, 2.7. And then these are all the federal and state funds that Dr. Martin helps to manage. Of course, we also have the remaining, our CARES Act, CARISA, and ARP. We don't have any more revenue coming in from the CARES Act. The redistribution was done earlier this year, so whatever money schools didn't spend, they put back into a pool, and then they redistribute that balance to other schools, and we got ours as well. So all told, in all of these state and federal funds, we're looking at another $36,590,000. So we're asking the board to approve our overall budget, operational budget of $54,328,669.64, and $36,591,2042 from non-operational, for a total budget for the district starting out at $90,918,790.06.
Ms. Daly?
Mr. Steve, where does the impact aid money that the 100%, is that included in this budget, or is that we're still waiting to get that money?
So it's included in the budget.
I see impact.
So I'm gonna
Okay.
take you to the different document here and share that with you and show you where that is. And it's in the narrative. If you look in the narrative section, there we go. So if you look in this narrative, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me try that again. 1 second.
Because I don't see it.
So the 3.5 million is expected revenue over the course of the year. The way the government sends that out, it's not all in one lump sum. It comes in 2 or 3 different, 4 or 5, sometimes different disbursements throughout the year, right? And so we still have been receiving disbursements from previous years. And so this is really the first year where, well, last year was the first year we got the 100%, but we didn't get 100% just yet, so we still anticipate more. So we are budgeting 3.5 million based on the calculations that the US government provides to us. So that's how we came up with that 3.5, but it won't come all in one lump sum. That's in line P right here. And this payment in lieu of taxes, impact aid. So then we have to provide a narrative moving forward on how we're going to anticipate spending that money. And that's at the last page of that the narrative on page 4. And so some areas where we anticipate allocating and focusing that money is on supplementing special education services to students considered at risk, socially challenged, and medically or emotionally fragile. Counseling services for students and families. Funding for STEM and STEAM programs that are no longer funded through the Indiana Education Act because it doesn't have enough money to do that anymore. We're looking at after-school transportation for students in tutoring or academic enhancement programs, improvements to student information systems. It's a very important allocation here because we have to collect good data in order to report the STARS and in order for our staff and our principals to be able to budget and report correctly. Also, student success programs to improve skills and self-confidence related to assessments. Of course, providing student school supplies for all students in all schools. And building and grounds, school grounds improvements related to the facility master plan. And supplementing salaries for instructional staff. So that's a lot of different areas. The new legislation allows us to direct that money to a variety of places. And so we're looking at doing that in the most strategic method possible.
And so is this amount going to be a yearly thing, Mr. Steve?
Oh, yes, we
Is
should
it going to
get
be a
this-
yearly thing?
Yeah, so it may fluctuate up and down depending on the reporting from the Indiana Ed Department, based on the membership on the Pueblos. So that will it could go up and down. I don't anticipate wild swings. I think that it would be important for us to anticipate that we would be getting about the same amount every year. It might go up depending on the calculations that the US government makes, but I'm just trying to be conservative, 2.5 million.
I'd like to make another key point in the overall budget. This year, we got a pretty significant increase in the unit value. The reason being that we had some pretty significant increases in salaries and wages for our classified and certified staff. So it was kind of a wash. So we had the increased unit value, we had the expenses to match that. But I think it's important also to know that we also pushed up a little, the best we could as a district to support our employees, rather than just pushing up the one particular area that was needed to be pushed up to the minimum. We reorganized the entire salary schedule for teachers. Where the state has a minimum of $15 an hour, we took it upon us to make it a $16 an hour minimum, so we can stay just a step ahead and be a little bit more competitive with our surrounding districts. We are, with these increases in teacher salaries, much more competitive with our surrounding states, Arizona, Colorado, Texas.
So I have a question. So even though the enrollment went down, the unit value went up. So are we still able to retain our staff, all of our staff?
Well, we can pay for the salaries that are budgeted, that's what I'll say. And whether or not the staff stays, or, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, that's their decision, but
Yeah.
do we have enough in the budget?
Yes, we do, yeah, and we are supplementing that with the various stipends that are currently being paid for out of the Carissa and ARP funds over the next 2 years up to 2024. They include the rural stipends, the hard to fill stipends, they include the sign-on bonuses, I'm missing a couple. I forgot, but we also pay stipends for those who have a national board certification. We pay a stipend for those who are TESOL certified. There's probably, and hard to fill, so there's a variety of different stipends that we use to entice folks to come and also to stay, right? And I have to say that the salary increase is very significant. It's for both classified and for teacher salaries. So if you're a level 1 teacher currently earning $41,200, that's like level 1, step 1, right? Your salary is going to go to $51,000 next year. If you're a level 2 teacher earning $52,000, your salary is going to go to somewhere around $64,000. If you're a level 3 teacher earning $61,000, your salary is going to go to like $73,000. Then if you choose to work the 10 days of extended learning time, that's an additional 3% on top of that, and then you get a daily rate. So those individuals, the minimum salary for a level 1 teacher doing extended learning time is going to be $63,600. So it's very significant. The minimum salary for a level 3 teacher doing ELTP is almost $80,000. So we're very excited about that. We have a lot of people responding, wanting to come in. I was a little shaken by that, but we're going to get reimbursed for all of those funds. So that's really exciting.
I think maybe to help answer your question, Ms. Lundstrom, is we're at a point where we're not having to cut staff. You know, I think, like I said, we have it budgeted, and any of the reductions, we do take into account the reduction in student numbers, but we've been looking carefully at school site to school site and classroom to classroom, and seeing that maybe too many EAs in one particular school. We haven't been doing that by just cutting, but maybe reassigning an EA to a different school and then through attrition, not having to just make cuts, which is hard on the families, but to adjust it so that we can right size according to the reduction in students.
So, Mr. Pettis, does that mean that our staffing pattern is good, that we're not, all our positions are filled and we're not actively looking for other teachers? Or are we still trying to fill positions?
Thank you. We're in a much better place than I've ever seen it. We've never gotten to every single position filled, and I think I'd let Miss Lisa handle it.
Thank you, Dr. Archambault, board members. I'm pleased to report that at this time we have 13 certified teachers that have not been filled for this year. We do have some special cases where we have people that are working on certifications that are working in those positions, and once those certifications are complete, then and of course they're successful and performing well, we'd like to recommend them for some positions. So we're really at a good place. Last year at this time we were at 79 certified positions opened. And so that's just current. Right now, we do have 14 certified teachers that have retired or resigned. And so that's going to put us up to 27 total. But as Mr. Maldonado mentioned, we're getting a high interest in working for our district. We do have some classified staff positions that are also open at this time, and they're posted online. We have EWS at some of our campuses. We have a health aide, and so those are varied positions that are still open. And we have 10 classified staff members that will be retiring, 5 retiring and 5 resigning at the end of this year. And so we would have a total of 38 classified. And again, we're really at a good place compared to last year at this time. And those applications are coming in 5 to 10 per day. And so we're having to catch up with what's interest in working with GCCS. I hope that answered your
Thank you.
question.
I have another question. So
Yes,
you
thank
said
you very
13
much.
You said 13 vacancies, so do long-term subs count as a vacancy? Okay, so if there's a long-term sub in the class, you're still looking for a
Yes, ma'am.
teacher?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Certified.
Yes. Once we get a certified staff member in that position and we get that recommendation, then that position will be considered filled. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's go to the action item. Mr. Pettis.
He's already recommended.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to
motion.
approve the budget.
Motion has been made by Rich Jones to approve the budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ron Ortiz to approve the GCCS budget for 2022-2023. Roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes,
thank you. Richard Jones.
Aye.
Alicia Lundstrom,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz.
Aye.
Dr. Garashambo.
Yes. Motion carries. Mr. Pettis.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, next action item, consideration of approval to resurface the tennis courts at Grants High School. I do recommend that we approve this action item as presented.
Is there a motion?
So, Mr. President, can I just ask you if we can do them all like we did that last one? Hear about it and then make a motion.
Right.
If I make a motion now and then I don't like what I hear later, it's tough to, just like we did the
Makes
budget.
sense.
Can we please?
Quick synopsis of what this motion is about.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Archambault, members of the board, Mr. Pettis. We were reviewing the tennis court for condition. It's getting a little bit older. And we've had some repairs done to it in the last couple of years, to the point where we're almost making repairs annually to the tennis court surface. In lieu of just simple repairs, we did look at doing a solution that's a multi-layered solution with an armor coating. The total amount is $163,679, and it will be paid for using SB 9 funds, which are for repair and renovation of school facilities.
And the construction will begin and we'll be able to make use of them.
ASAP. They're ready to get started. As a matter of fact, I told him he had to wait until the board meeting.
Okay.
We're ready to go.
I have a question. So is that on the facilities master plan?
That's a renovation and repair. So, yeah, we constantly, I don't think specifically it's on the facility master plan, but it's not new construction. It's not a major renovation, so.
Right. But
these are
I
things we do all the
understand there's
time.
other projects around the school district that also need constant repair,
We have constant repair of facilities.
but it's not on the agenda. So I would say that the facilities master plan we should follow, because those are priorities for the school district.
Those are, but yes, you're right. Facility master plan was made in 2017. And so as we're getting to the end of this facility master plan, there are items that were probably not captured 5 years ago that we capture as needed. So
So we'll probably have to put it on the new facilities master plan first to get it approved,
not necessarily.
because it's not a priority
It's before you all,
according to this facilities master plan.
before you all for approval tonight.
What is the condition of the surface?
The surface has multiple spots where the original layers are gone. It's down to concrete. And in many areas, there are cracking that's been exposed. And we want to get those covered up. And this comes with an 8-year warranty, so.
Are there any other repair issues in the district?
In the district,
That deserve the district's attention?
yeah, hundreds of them. It's a big district.
And so how do you address those?
We
And
constantly
time to
evaluate
adjust the need.
facilities and as the need arises for that repair or minor renovation, then we evaluate that.
So
A major renovation, we of course have to plan that a little deeper. We've got some more major athletic facility renovations that we're working on pricing now. It's constant with
Over
facilities.
the last 3 years, have we had other instances where issues of repair have had to be brought to our attention?
And I
I
think
think that's what you wanted to know, whether or not, whether or not this is unusual or not, you know. Mr. Jones?
Well, I do understand what you're saying as far as the facilities master plan, but nowhere in the facility master plan do we have to talk about maintaining what we have. You don't let things go before you. I mean, we absolutely need a new facilities master plan. I mean, ours is old, but if something's wore out, we fix. I mean, those bleachers out there are a perfect example of a big expenditure that we had, that we needed
That we had to do.
fix. I mean, that tennis court was new several years ago, they wear out. I mean, that's something that, I mean, in the facilities master plan, we don't say we build it one time and then never touch it again. We have to,
Well, that's what
I mean,
I
there's,
think that's
that's
what
two
you wanted.
different.
There's also priorities.
There's two, not necessarily, that's when you redo the facilities master plan, what you're gonna do to your, build on your facilities, but there's, I mean, I'm gonna have to say, every part of the facility is a priority. When they wear out, we need to fix them.
That's much,
I agree, but.
it's much like a parking lot that may not be on a facility master plan, but as it deteriorates, then you evaluate it. And it's more like a repair than a renovation. Another example would be your gym floor. Every couple of years, you put a new layer of polyurethane or of coating on it. But after so many years, then you need to peel that down and put a new graphic down and then come back with, and that's not necessarily a renovation to the facility you have. It's just taking care of what you got, really.
My understanding, Mr. Perez, is that a facilities master plan basically identifies those things
Major,
that we have determined need to be planned ahead for a major expenditure of some sort. So those are the things that are prioritized. And then once we approve those and those are installed or built, then the maintenance of those repairs don't fall under the facilities plan. They fall under the maintenance part of the districts.
It's a good way to do that.
Is that how you approach that?
And I think, and there's not a hard and fast black and white separation between the repair, SB9 repairs and those kind of things on an ongoing basis in the facilities master plan. So facilities master plan is a lot more solid as far as thinking in the future, and this is, we know this, it's our roadmap. We're rebuilding things, replacing things, but the SB9 is more, and we do have to leverage the funds, but it is true that the facility master plan will remain intact, but we do have HVAC issues that probably sometimes are more expensive than this that we have to address immediately. Those things come up on a regular basis, and things like this. So it's almost like two different systems going at the same time, and it's not a hard and fast. Sometimes it's in the facility master plan, and sometimes it's not. I know that's, but I don't know if that's saying it
Well,
properly.
Good way to put it.
we expect that, well, we would understand that the administration's going to tell us when things are in need of repair, and that you're gonna present those, you're gonna make a study, feasibility, what are the options? And then determine whether or not you wanna hold off on it and maybe build a whole complete new thing, or whether it's just sufficient to do the repairs. So my expectation is that, or our board's expectation would be that you would be looking at those kinds of things, and if there's things coming up in the near future, you're gonna be telling us whether or not there's any additional areas of renovation or repair needs that'll surface.
Did we have HVAC at Laguna on facility master plan?
I believe HVAC and roof were on the facility master plan as a replacement project.
It was
And
more a
Mr.
replacement
President,
than,
I'm trying to think of
we
other
did
examples.
repairs for that for years.
Or at San Rafael, for example, a
Yeah.
big crack in the wall that,
Let's keep those thoughts in mind.
There, I mean, that's something, you're gonna talk about those tennis courts on the facility master plan, we only built half of what we're supposed to.
Yeah, because we
I mean,
didn't,
That's, if you want, on the facility master plan, that was twice what was supposed to be there. So we cut them, I mean, and you get, when you do that, you get twice the wear and tear on them, twice the,
Yeah.
I mean, that is something it's not black and white, it's not, this is how it is, yeah.
Yeah.
We gave them half what we should have.
There's a category of items that are like that. Parking lots are a good example. Gymnasium floors, if you don't stay on top of the renovation of those and stay on some kind of a schedule, your floors will get in very poor condition and those are expensive to replace. You know, the major renovations such as turf on a ball field, yeah, we have those in planning as well, and we're gathering pricing, and we're trying to get those up to a condition, and with the limited maintenance staff, we're all about turf and everything at a high school because we don't have the staff that can maintain those to the level of a major league field, but the same goes for these smaller projects. We don't always have the staff to maintain those to the level that we would like to, but they just deteriorate over time with the traffic, and not only is this used by our kids, but the community, we'll find community on here at different times, and so it's a high use location.
Mr. Ortiz?
What kind of maintenance do we do on our football field? I know we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm sure that's gonna be coming up
So,
pretty
good
soon.
question. Yeah, we groom it regularly, every 3 or 4 weeks, during the season. Out of season, a little less frequent. You don't wanna do it too much or you bend the fiber. Every few years, they recommend that to come in and do a deep cleaning on it, get the sunflower seeds out and the cigarette butts and the loop and all that stuff. But just general maintenance, we try to stay on top of it and groom it pretty regular. During football season, it's pretty much every home game, it gets a grooming. And that's pretty much all you have to do with it.
And I
I
have a
just wondered what kind of maintenance is.
I have a question, what kind of maintenance do you do on the baseball field? Cause it's my understanding that every year, cause it's a 50-plus-year-old field, the pipes burst whenever they try to water the grass, so they dig it up. And it was brought to my attention, so I have pictures from February, this big old hole in center field. So, that's an issue too, that needs
Huge issue,
repaired.
yes, ma'am. That is a huge concern. Along with the Grants High School girls not having a facility at all.
Mhm.
Those are huge. Grants High School baseball and softball are a huge issue. And even out at Laguna, we have a huge, we have a scheduling issue, if you will. And so those are all facilities that we are constantly concerned about. And 5 leaks over this year, most at the baseball stadium, 5 of them. So,
So,
And I'd like to add just to that, Mr. Maldonado, Mr. Lee and I are working on a proposal to the board to address some of those things in the very near future.
So I just think a lot of athletic facilities need
Uh,
repairs, not just tennis courts, but you need to focus on everything that needs repaired.
all the
So
time.
are you
Yes,
doing
ma'am.
that? You're, that's, in place
All
to
the
get
time.
redone?
Yes, ma'am.
so,
I also,
Ms.
Mr.
Sandeli?
President,
Ms.
I
Sandeli?
also think that I'm speaking, we also need to have trust in our maintenance director that he has these things, the repairs, and he has them on schedule, and he does a routine, maintenance check on them to see how they're holding up, instead of going through, nitpicking through all this individual sites that need. We leave that up to the maintenance director to maintain that superiority of our ball fields or our tennis courts or whatever, and then when he is in need, then he brings those to the attention of the board. We would be hard pressed to go around and over supervise him and say, have you looked at this tennis court? Have you looked at this football field? We leave it to the expertise of our maintenance director to make sure that he's maintaining the quality of all these places that we're talking about. And the master plan is for major expenditures that generally need attention and that have gone on for some time. So I think that I trusted Mr. Vance to know that when these little things need to be fixed, and then what also needs to be a major expenditure that goes into the facility master plan. Thank you.
Thank you, and good points, Ms. Lindstrom, for bringing them up. That also then, I would suggest that in a future board meeting, we update on our plans and needs for any kind of,
Yes, sir. Dr. Archambault, I don't know if you all are aware, but we've started the facility master plan development process for 2022 through 2026.
Right.
We've already had a couple of meetings now, and the consultant is on board.
thank you. What I'm saying is that we, Mr. Ortiz.
Just one more comment on the baseball fields. You know, I've been working with our state representative, Mr. Garcia, on doing artificial on our baseball fields. And I know it's gonna be an equality thing between boys and girls, and we wanna always keep that in check. But I'd like to see if we could find a remedy to make sure that both parties are equally using that field. Cause, you know, we're gonna try, I'm trying very hard to get some monies to go on that. And I think it's an important subject right now that we're on it, to bring it up and figure out how we're gonna make this thing work because of the SB 9 funds, you know?
What I would think that the board would want is a deliberative process where you lay out what is the needs for the district, the types of maintenance issues that you have in the future, in this summer. And just let us know what you're gonna be needing to address, what the feasibility is from there. And let's get back to the topic of
Yeah, let's,
this one. This is, now we made a motion. and-
we have not.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve.
Motion has been made to approve the resurfacing of the tennis courts at Grants High School. I'll second that. To approve the resurfacing of tennis courts at Grants High School as presented. Roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes,
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Alicia Lundstrom,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz,
Aye.
Dr.
Motion.
Guyer Shambo.
Yes, motion carries. Consideration of approval of the GCCS strategic plan. Now we have the second portion, the second half of it. Let's take a look at it.
Keep going, I'm just.
And Mr. President, I do recommend approval of the GCCS strategic plan.
You want to do that first? We were going to discuss the second half of that, the goals. Why don't we, Mr. Pettis, let's do the same thing we did with the other, where we do an overview again, only of the second portion, beginning with page, what did he say? Ms. Lundstrom, was it page 17 he was referring to? It had
Yeah.
to do with the goals, with the actual plan that implements the goals.
1701 and 36.
Yeah, and we were trying to, he was trying to, and so Board Member Ortiz, we went through the first half of the presentation in the work session.
Okay.
On the need, and the data. But now we're going to go into the actual plan, the goals, and we needed to have the latest portion of that part. So we're
Can you
waiting
see-
to see whether.
Can you
what
see
he's
it?
gonna show.
On your screen. Okay, so in our work session, we discussed the structure of the strategic plan, explained that, we have presented this a few times, and it has been through an evolution. It's been through many stakeholder groups, schools have been involved, principals have been involved. We have a list of the stakeholder groups that have been involved. We have a table of contents here.
I think she needs one, I think he needs the latest version. Let's hold off. We need a hard copy of the latest and greatest.
And that's this new one.
That's the new one, yeah.
Scroll down to the goals and make sure.
This is it. I'll show you. Better be a-
Hope you're bringing donuts, Lisa.
Do you want me to run this?
And could you send this to, Emily, we haven't done that yet. We're getting there.
So this is the version that we should have had.
Okay,
If you wanna follow it here. I think she's gonna make copies.
she's gonna make copies.
I was in a hurry, so.
If you don't mind, we're gonna take a quick recess.
Good.
We're gonna go get myself a hamburger.
You too.
Recess.
What's that?
Like big fields, can you, baseball field, that's a different money than the SB nine money.
Okay.
Like SB nine money. You can go, you gotta go backwards, just like this. Okay, we got this now.
Make sure she gets the right one for everybody.
But you build something.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so that's the same total rate right away. Then I heard you.
And remember, Madison did build something that's called Turbo, and I realized that the girls don't have a baseball field, but then nothing. You know,
Was it on mute?
it's a what? It's not a
Field. That's
sorry,
new.
I misunderstood.
That's just like when we turf this floor, that was not a repair, that's why I'm telling you it's set. And we, and I won't want you back, but that has been
Page
I
32.
got the microphone back on.
All right, board members, let's return back. We had a short recess. Mr. Perez and, Mr. Perez and, Rena, would you guys begin the, discussion of this? This give us an overview of the actual implementation plan of our strategic plan.
So, just briefly, as we started, we talked at the, work session, we went over the structure of the, strategic plan. This is a three-year strategic plan from 2022 to 2025. We've had a lot of people involved in the development of this over the last year. In the document, we have an introduction. We have a list of some key staff, board members, all of the stakeholder groups that were involved in the development of the document. And we talk about the overall transformational mission that we're on. We have some written pieces about the different departments, the overarching departments of the district. And then we get into some district data that we discussed in the work session. We went over enrollment and had discussion on that in the previous meeting. Went over some of the interim assessment data with IMASA. And we will be discussing data in terms of a baseline, through COVID. There are different factors that played some tricky things on us. One is the participation in the assessments was awkward. The requirements of the assessments was not solid by the state. So we did stay pretty faithful to our learning system with our quarterly assessments. But still we had COVID online a year and a half did have an impact on the assessment process itself. So we are very much looking forward to having a solid baseline and having that baseline connected with the state's IMASA and NUMASA. Those are the quarterly assessments and the summative assessment, formerly known as PARC. So now we can get in line with the rest of the state, the rest of the districts, and be able to compare ourselves with other districts, compare schools to schools, our high schools to other high schools in the state, and so on. So we are looking forward to that because I do think we have remained as steadfast as we possibly can on our academic pushes. So in at least our first look at the data, eliminate data, we are seeing some small incremental increases in our graduation data. Of course, that's four-year cohort data. There is an upward trend in that. We hope that we're working on continuing that trend. So looking at all the data pieces, we had a very intentional work with our attendance. And I think we also have some good, always a lot of work to do, but we're in a better place than we were with some of those areas. So I think we were down to about the beginning of the goals as we left the work session.
33, right?
This is page 32.
32.
And that's where we're at now, so. We all have the document now that has the percentages for desired outcomes. And as we know, we have the 4 district goals. And all of these actions and strategies are tied to each of those 4 district goals. And we're looking at the desired outcomes and the strategies alongside this. Is the work that needs to be done for us to make some gains, some improved outcomes, That's our work right here. So I'd be glad to,
Move to this.
as you would like, Mr. President.
So what I see here, Mr. Pettis, is that on page 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, those are all related to goal one. I would,
Well, there's goal 2 starts on
I
page
know, but
36.
all I'm saying is that goal two starts on what page?
36.
No.
Yeah.
Starts on 40.
For formatting purposes,
Was this 36 here?
I'm not sure.
is there a reason why we have, each page begins with the same thing? Wouldn't it not be sufficient just to have, yet gray? To just, have that, presented once and then just go through then everything, all the critical actions for goal one would be listed instead of.
Yes, sir, I agree with you 100%.
Okay, I think there was a formatting thing,
That's done.
that was done that automatically did that. I would suggest we remove that, that way it makes it more
I agree. And I think,
sensible.
and I have to tell you that, Dr. Williams uses a Mac, and when he transfers it over to us,
Back to PC I deal with every week. I really do. Changes stuff, yep.
And I think it automatically connected in it just, because what I noticed is that what, it just keeps repeating. So let's
I will work.
tell
on it.
him that he needs to get a PC. That's one of the requirements.
I told him that.
You guys should have one laying around in the
You won't
storage
get him
room.
to switch, I
No, I
promise.
don't.
No, Mac people are Mac people, but they can, you can, it takes a little preemptive when you switch, but you can get them to yoke up. But I deal with it every week.
Because I couldn't figure out why. So if that's acceptable,
Yes, I will work.
then that reduces down this to something more. And so then goal two, it starts with 40, Ms. Hunt, page 40, 41. And then, goal three is on what, 42, 43?
43,
And goal four,
yeah, 42.
yeah.
You're right.
We cut down a few more trees, Ms. Lundstrom.
Yes, I know, all these papers.
Yeah, so, are there any, do any of you have any wish to look through all of these? We've seen some of these before. Some of these were in the previous, strategic plan. I think we need to review these, if you recall, we were talking about, doing some, midsummer baseline setting that then should have you begin the process of managing the rest of these things, so we could understand what you're going to be doing first, second, or third. Which ones of these critical actions are going to be in your timeline? And we want to see outcomes, results that are different from what we had seen during the COVID years. And so what I notice is that you have made some measurable markers for your outcomes. Just looking at that up on the screen. All third grade, we've seen this one before, all third grade students read proficient at grade level. And then number two is different, and so is number three. Excuse me, would you explain?
So this is, we have to line all of our documents. This is also tied into our ed plan that we have to submit to the state and also our dash plans and the school site plans. So we had a lot of discussion about setting these markers rather than just pulling numbers out of the sky, which has been the practice in the past. Everybody's gonna increase 10%. Question is, why not 9%, why not 11%? So we've had a lot of those kind of discussions. But it all boiled down to, we had to take all the factors and say, this is doable. But it also keeps us on a good track. You know, if we put 90% on here, that sounds really good and it looks really good, but is it attainable? So we have to be realistic, but also rigorous in moving ourselves forward. So after all that discussion, we came to the 24, 34, and 44% each of the years for student proficiency to move up in math, and the same in English language arts, same in science. As you know, the state is becoming a lot more attentive to the science area, and we have required assessments now in science. And we'll be measured and gauged by how well we do in science as well. So I'm all for that. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. In the 23, 24, we look forward to increasing our graduation rates. Again, being realistic about it. As we look at our trajectory now, we've had a pretty good trajectory over the last 4 years, and we want to keep that rate. Looking at all the factors around that, it looks like a 2% per year is realistic. And if you look at all the other districts in the state, I think that that would keep us in an upward trajectory. If we do better than that, which we always will look forward to doing, then we're glad, but we believe that this is something that is attainable. And then it's also very tricky. We can't just say, okay, this year we're gonna increase our graduation rates and all of a sudden everything's done, and it's based on a 4-year cohort. So what we have to do is look at managing that cohort group starting from 9th grade. Keep an eye on that whole group. How many are gonna drop out? How many are gonna transfer out? How many are struggling in 9th grade? How many? We've gotta move that cohort up, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And then we get the credit for that whole group after 4 years. So it's a little bit more complex than just looking at the 76% graduating. So those factors are all involved in the thinking behind these benchmarks. And we want middle and high school students to be on the path to reach their college and career goals. Thus, the career pathways, which we're investing a lot of money and a lot of effort and resources into creating those career pathways, and that should be obvious in the strategic plan. I hope that explains the data there. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Brandon.
I just wanted to add that the beginning numbers for all of these were based off of the summative assessments that we last had. And so, as Dr. Archambault said, then during the summer, when we have our new data, then we can adjust those as necessary. But that's what we had when we had to submit the ed plan. And you have to have the ed plan submitted in order to get your budget released. And so that's an important step there.
So, we did ask at the last superintendent's meeting last week that the NAMASA data, where in the past you do the park and then you don't get the assessment data, you don't get the results of it till like June or July or even August. Secretary of Ed did tell us that we will get our results before the end of the school year. So I'll hold them to it.
And you know, with the IMASA data, we've seen the same thing. It's immediately available to the teachers, which is very helpful to them. So.
What might be helpful is to take your critical actions and associate them with, if it is all possible, with the numbered outcomes. Some of them you probably really couldn't do, but you have to manage this, and so what we'll need to have this summer is the management plan that goes along with this, that tells us how are you going to keep on top of all of these? What kinds of data are you going to provide? When is it going to come up? Questions, any comments? Mr. Jones?
So the strategic plan's great, and we're obviously gonna all vote for it because it is written by a bunch of professionals and we have some great goals in there. My worry, not my worry, the sheer fact is, and you said it, we run them on a cohort. It's a 4-year cohort. And then we gather data up at the end and we decide where we are and then we build the next one. I think that we have to implement some kind of in-process audit throughout that cohort, where we can drive some data there and see if what we're doing is working. Where we're strong, where we're not strong, where our students are gaining or not. But that in-process audit is essential for success. You can always look back and say where we messed up. That's the 4-year, after the 4-year cohort.
That's too late.
But that happens in school district or in the school system all the time.
So what you're saying is, don't wait till the end of.
I'm saying, I'll put it this way, when you blow your car up, you can tear that thing apart and see what's wrong with it. You can do an autopsy right there. But if you did it in process and plug that thing into the machine every once in a while and make sure
Like they tell
what's
you.
running or not
Right.
running or what's, so I would just encourage all of us to stay in process with that during that cohort. Because, I mean, our levels of proficiency are sickening worldwide, nationwide. I'm not cussing our school system, but man, if we gain a little bit and we're doing something right, let's do more of what's right.
I'd like to make a point of clarity, Mr. President, Mr. Gillen. So when I say the 4-year cohort, that's only for the graduation rates.
No, I
right?
understand.
Okay, so,
I'm talking about the strategic plan. We're always
yeah,
looking in retrospect, what didn't work, what didn't, and what do we change?
and with the performance data, we want to make sure that we have a good, solid new baseline, and we do look at that every quarter. And at the school sites, at their weekly PLCs, the formative assessment is done every week. So we have that in-process audit continuously on the student performance side of it. Graduation is a kind of a bigger monster, but point well taken. I know Dr. Archambault's had the same interest, is paying attention to those cohort groups is really important.
And making this strategic plan adaptive.
Adaptive. And I think that we would probably be one of the few that I know of that would actually look at this as a cohort management, keeping our eyes on that, addressing it. I think too many people look at, okay, we got our 4-year cohort data, now let's look back and see what we did wrong. But if we're proactive, what you're suggesting, I think Dr. Archambault is also advocating, is us paying really good attention to those cohort groups and managing it, and not waiting till the end to see who's dropped out, who's still in, poor grades, all those types of things. That I think we can improve our graduation rate with that.
Well, I mean, I'll even go, we have one thing in there, we want all 3rd graders to be proficient in reading. Okay, after that first year, how many of them are? To me, that's easy. None of it's, I don't mean it's easy, none of it's getting them all to read is easy, I don't mean it that way. But finding your data out, well, what is our percentage of
That's
3rd
what we
graders
wanna know.
that are?
Yeah.
That's what I mean now.
Now, it's almost even looking at, okay, that's important for the 1st graders and 2nd grade teachers. That's one of our benchmarks. That's one of our milestones.
One of our biggest
And
milestones.
so, and that's critical, because that's when they start to, to read to learn. That's when they get more, the text gets harder, everything gets harder. So that's difficult. So I can see board members where we will be having a meeting at some point in the summer, probably, when you get all your data in there, and you're gonna tell us how it all lays out for these different cohort groups, I guess. Every grade is a cohort in a sense, I guess. And so we just gotta track them. We gotta do what the doctors do. They keep records of you and they keep up to date on it. And they want you to, you know, and we need to do the same thing. So I think we're all on the same wavelength, that we just gotta know as a board how the kids are doing mid-year, once they get all the data in, and then what did that data tell them? And what are they gonna do different for the kids? And that'll be very helpful for us. I think that's it. Ron, what do you think?
I agree with Mr. Jones. I think that's something that we need to look at, and I've been talking to Superintendent Perez when I was the board president about those kind of things, so
Absolutely.
we've been on the same page all the way through it, so.
Alicia?
Yeah, we got a lot of great input to build this strategic plan, so that's not just put it on a shelf and wait and look in retrospect, what should have happened. Constantly monitor.
Be nice also to get anecdotal stories from each of the schools, like the success stories. So what I think would be important is when we get the data about these kids, we also get something that is very descriptive of specific students' challenges, great things that have happened each year. Any other questions? Ms. Hunt Daly? Thoughts?
I think we're already on the right road with what the schools are doing with, that we get to see at board meetings, what's going on, what skills that they're displaying, how they're participating in contests and stuff like that. We're already on the right road. We just need to make sure that data that we're sharing, that they're showing us what each school is accomplishing, that we interject that into our strategic plan as part of our results. And I'm pretty sure that each school is keeping track of the data and the activities that they're doing currently, and just infiltrate it into what we have now. And just and like you all said, just keep improving on it. Just keep taking it one step further every time, and keep collecting the data. Now that we'll at least have data, because all of this is, hopefully we'll get anecdotal data like they're requesting, and we'll have the results of tests that will also help us. And we continue to make these strides with maybe higher percentages that we want to improve year to year. And I think that as we do that, that students will start coming back when they see the progress that the district is making. And that's, that's really a testament to what these principals and instructional coaches are doing at every school in the district. Really appreciate the stuff that they're maintaining and they're monitoring. So they're doing already a good job. We just need to gather it and put it into our strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, roll call.
You'll make a motion.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve the strategic plan.
I've got the wrong place here. I see what I did. Mr. Richard Jones made a motion to approve the GCCS strategic plan as presented. Is there a second?
Emily Hunt Daly, second. Emily Hunt Daly,
We have
second.
Daly to approve the strategic plan, I can't say it, as presented. Roll call?
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Lisa Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz,
Aye.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. Congratulations. Well done. For you guys, a lot of work. We look forward to it being implemented and success for everybody.
One thing, Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. Perez, would you please extend our appreciation to all the school leadership and the teams that have put this plan together? This is no easy task, and I think having it available to us to really look at, we really appreciate that. So please extend our appreciation to all the teams and the school leadership. Thank you.
I will do, thank you.
F,
Mr. President, Board, next action item is consideration of approval of resolution pertaining to submittal and formal ratification of budget adjustment requests. And, Mr. President, Board, just to give a summary of what this is, each year, as we get into the end of the fiscal year, there's a lot of budget adjustments that occur because just the end of the year and settling, reconciling all the different funds and so on. And it gets tedious to the point of almost impossible to be bringing all of those to the board in a regular board meeting. So what we've done in the past couple or 2 or 3 years is to have the board give us the approval to move these forward and then formally ratify them through, make the board aware of them, but not necessarily pre-approve all of these adjustments at the end of this school year, from now until the end of June. And if you want to add to that, Mr. Maldonado.
You covered it very well. Yes, it allows us to make all the maneuvers that we need to make to reconcile the accounts without having to wait for a board meeting.
is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve.
Motion has been made by Rich Jones. Is there a second?
No second.
Seconded by Ron Ortiz to approve the resolution pertaining to submittal and formal ratification budget adjustment request as presented. Roll call.
Emily? Daly?
Yes,
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindstrom?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Aye.
Dr. Garashambo?
Yes. Motion carries. If I didn't say it for the strategic plan, motion carries there too. Consent agenda?
Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we approve the consent agenda as presented this evening.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve.
Motion made by Rich Jones. Is there a second?
second,
A second by Alicia Lundstrom. I heard the first syllable. To approve of the consent agenda as presented, roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly?
yes,
Richard Jones?
Aye.
Alicia Lindstrom?
Yes.
Ron Ortiz? Dr. Garashambo?
Yes. Motion carries. Superintendent's report?
Yes, sir, is, briefly, just want to keep the board updated on you've noticed it's not extended learning time, but the state has changed the phrase to, enhanced learning time. So it still is those 10 days of extended learning time that, we do plan on, participating in. We have 4 of our schools will be participating in the K-5 plus in July. All the remaining schools will be participating in the K-5 plus, during the first 10 days after school ends in June. So we've been having the principals have us get teacher commitments, who's gonna be teaching, who's gonna be working, figuring out the finances, how we're gonna pay them. It all gets a little bit complex, but I know Mr. Maldonado has a good handle on, we have the 3% increases for those staff that participate and not for those who don't. A few little complications like that, but I just want to report to the board that it is in good order. We're proceeding and we will have the extended learning time in K-5 plus, and we're participating in, I guess, fully, like the state is encouraging most districts to do, so. And I, do believe that it's probably a good value, holds value for our families and for our students to improve their learning. And, I think that wraps it up. I don't know if anyone has any questions about it.
Questions? None.
That's all we have for that.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's go to executive session, discussion of limited personnel matters pursuant to section 1015(1)(h)(2) of the Open Meetings Act for discussion of professional development plan, including receipt or presentation by superintendent of his evaluation pursuant to 1015-1 of the Open Meetings Act. The board will meet in executive session to discuss best practices, parameters, process of professional development for the superintendent with legal counsel and the attorney-client participate, privilege in anticipation of litigation. Our attorney will not be with us tonight. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion is made by Alicia Lundstrom,
Second.
second by Richard Jones to pursuant to the New Mexico Open Meetings Act under section 1015-1, we will now go into executive session. Roll call.
Emily Daly,
Yes?
Richard Jones.
Aye.
Alicia Lundstrom,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz.
No.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. The time is 7:19. Want us to go to, for the audience, all we have left are the announcements and adjournment. If anybody wants to stay to listen to those, you're welcome. And otherwise, thank you.
So, we can leave this
Trish, they're at the executive session right now. Mr. Perez?
I think that's still coming.
Dr. Martin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, sir.
Ready? What's coming out of closed session at 7:58? Is there a motion to reconvene?
I'll make a motion, we reconvene.
Motion has been made by Richard Jones to reconvene the open session. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Alicia Lundstrom to reconvene the open session. Roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes,
Richard Jones.
Aye.
Yes. Ron Ortiz.
Aye.
Dr. Archambault.
Yes. The board was in executive session. We had discussion on limited personnel matters pursuant to section 1015 on the professional development plan and the evaluation of the superintendent. And there were no other topics discussed at that time. Announcements, you see it there before you. You got the awards tomorrow night.
Good
And
question. Mr. President, I wonder if we get a general sense of who might be there at the staff appreciation on Friday morning.
so I'll take,
I'll be there.
okay, so, yeah, we don't know. We don't always make it.
know.
Sure.
Oh, just
I
come.
actually like going to it.
I know.
Yeah, it's good.
What
If you
about
can.
the awards?
Awards
Tomorrow
tomorrow night, grants.
I'm gonna go. Are you
I
gonna be able
didn't, they
to
didn't
make
send me the
I will not
time.
make that tomorrow night.
You're kidding.
They
No.
didn't send me the time.
And I really like that one too.
I know.
I'll try. Let's see.
It's fun. You know, that one's fun.
I won't be there, but I'm gonna make it for Grant's graduation.
So, okay.
Okay.
Future agenda items, adjournment, is there a motion?
Wait, hold on, Dr. Guy, Mr. President. What about the board usually submit something for Staff Appreciation Day? We haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, we
Like
do.
every school donates a prize. So do
We used
we
to give
nix it again this year or?
Something. Didn't we donate something? Is that what they're still doing?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
doing that.
So do you guys want to kick in a few dollars?
Sure.
You can do that.
Okay. Now you got the money?
Yeah,
Fork it over.
I don't have it now.
Okay.
I can cover you, Ron, till next time.
Okay, then I'll pay you. I don't have it either. I don't want my.
I can cover both of you.
Can you, you know, so we're just gonna give cash?
Here.
Okay,
I don't want to be cheap. How much are you giving, Richard?
What if we all put in $20, that's $100.
yeah, that'll work.
There's $100.
Okay,
So everybody
So-
owes you 20.
That works fine with me.
No, that,
Emma, Lorraine's gonna take our money
give it.
and she's going to put it into some beautiful package of some sort with flowers and stuff.
We'll
I'll
come
give
up
you
with that.
5 tomorrow.
yeah,
I'll give you 5 tomorrow.
Or you have to
We're
give
good
it to
now.
him.
just put it
Yeah, I got the 100.
put in a nice card. Put in a nice card.
Okay. Oh, Mr.
And Lorraine, I'll give you mine Thursday, Friday.
Drop me a 5, I'll give you 5.
Okay,
I'll give you.
Then you can give it to her.
yeah,
Yeah,
then
well,
I can give it to
chip
you.
in. Okay.
I'll take it to Jackie.
No, because then I'll, no,
Yeah,
that's
that's
right. That's absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Perez, just for formality, Mr. Tovana.
Yes, so, anyway, those who don't know, Mr. Toy Bannon's mother passed away, the other rosary as we speak. And then the funeral tomorrow at St. Teresa's at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Those who can go and can't make it, I'm sure that they appreciate our prayers.
And she taught 48 years.
Would you,
Give him our condolences.
have a statement made and then get it forwarded for,
From the board.
from the board?
The district bought flowers.
She really taught 48 years. Yeah, never mind, we'll go off, I can go on a whole tip. There's still teachers that around when I was in elementary school.
Yep.
Miss Pope, she's a grandma out there at Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Still teaching.
Well, she's one of the
My
nanas.
grandma's, yeah,
Yeah,
so she
grandma.
goes every day.
Is there,
Yeah.
did I get a motion and a second on the,
No, we got cut off, so I make a motion, we adjourn.
is there a second?
A second.
A second by Lisa Lundstrom to adjourn the meeting, roll call.
Matt Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones.
Aye.
Yes. Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Dr. Guy Archambo.
Yes. Is adjourned at, where's my clock?
It's, I'm waiting for somebody to put it up. I bought it.
8:03.
8:03.
See, I bought it.
How old is Mrs. Post, you know?
I don't know. It's got to be in her.
Hundreds? Not really, but, I mean,
Late 80s.
so she